Take it easy and solve the school lunch problem with SPAM. S-P-A-M.
こんにちは、タイガークローラジオ。You are listening now. Back J.
You are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Number 1 in vintage computer and video game entertainment. And now your host, Critical Failure.
Welcome everyone to a very special episode of Tiger Claw Radio. Thanks for letting me take last week off. My goodness. There's a new baby in the house. We have a new baby. That's right. My wife gave birth on the 3rd, and we stayed in the hospital for 5.5 days. Is it 5.5 days? I know we didn't get home until Sunday night, so there was no way I could do TCR. I wanted to do just like a little thing. In fact, Hemrock even wrote a special comment, like a special email that I could just read, and that would be the show, so it's like really long. But I couldn't make it happen, and then in the following days, we had a newborn in the house. There was just no way I could make time. So thank you guys very much for letting me have a week off. There has been a lot of awesome stuff to talk about since then, and I've got a lot of van casting, so this is going to be a great show. So stick with us. We're going to kick things off with, I don't know. I wanted to set up like a special for Palm 84 because Palm 84 was going through some difficulty, I think, the last time we did that. But I'm diving back into it. So let's do this. Let's play some tracks off of one of my favorite albums. It's kind of a go-to. This is from the Fuji album, Fujii. The album's called Euphoria. It's a free album. You can go look it up on Bandcamp, download yourself a copy. It feels real chill. It's perfect for a day like today. So stick with us. When we come back, got some awesome van casting. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. this first part of the Vancast was recorded before the baby was born. So this was what does this say? This says the 3rd. This was the day he was born. My goodness, the day my son was born, early in the morning. You can hear me talking with not a care in the world, having no idea what was going to go on the evening thereafter. So I'm kind of anxious to listen to this. Stick with us. We're going back to Tuesday morning on Tiger Claw Radio. Buckle up. Morning, everybody. It is Monday. Yeah, Tuesday, because we had the day off. Yeah, Tuesday morning. It's 6:08 and a nice 68 degrees, and it is beautiful out on this wonderful September morning. Give me a second here. Drop the windows so that I can pull out without smashing into anything. Time for the Vancast, everybody. This is where we talk about some video games early in the morning during the commute. 1 second. It's dark outside. It had been a little sun hadn't quite come up yet in the past. Days getting a little shorter every day. But that's it. It's done now. It is now dark outside when I drive to work in the morning. So what's happened over the weekend? I downloaded Mark and got it reinstalled. I think we talked a little bit about IRC last week for the 300th episode. And the way that came about, I was playing Unreal Tournament. I checked out the Unreal Tournament built-in chat feature, which is essentially just an IRC. It got me to re-download my age-old IRC client, and let me tell you, that thing hasn't changed a bit. So that was weird. IRC is a weird thing, man. People join these IRC channels and they get involved in these conversations. They just leave their machines on and stay connected for months at a time. So you'll go into an IRC channel with 150 people, and no one will be talking. No one will be typing anything. No messages are being sent. It just sits there. It's very weird. It's a weird thing. I kind of want to do a video on it because IRC used to be such a huge part of the way people communicated on the internet. Guys who would just bum around on the internet, and play games and do whatever. IRC was a big deal. That was how, if you were in a clan, your clan probably had an IRC. Whereas nowadays it's like a Discord or something. Yes, it was a big deal. It was something everyone knew how to do, and now it isn't. All right, where are we at now? Okay, so that happened as well. I haven't done much with Merc yet. I downloaded it. I checked out the stock IRC server that it auto connects you to, and I sniffed around some of those channels to see if anybody was actually using them. People still do. Now in 2019. And beyond that, I spent most of the weekend, when I had time to play, because I didn't play a whole lot of games this weekend, being Labor Day weekend, but I played a game called Super Hot, which you guys are probably familiar with. And that was a good time. Let's see. So one thing I'd like to point out about Super Hot is the gimmick is that it's a first-person shooter, but time only moves when you move. So you can plan your moves very carefully, and you can stages, generally run pretty short for that reason. And you can get a big onslaught of enemies all at once, and you can deal with it because you can stop time and sort of do what you have to do. Neat game, but the whole idea that time doesn't advance unless you advance is a liar, pants on fire situation. Time does advance, just very slowly, and I died several times because of that. I didn't understand that fact. But that's Super Hot. More on that in a minute. For now, I'm going to go in and do my grocery store run that I like to do at the beginning of the week and get some apples. It's apple time. Okay. So we were talking about Super Hot. Yeah, so I died a couple of times while pondering my next move. Cool game though, very cool game. I like the gimmick, I like the aesthetic. Everything's super bright white, almost blindingly white. But then you have these red crystallized enemies that almost look like, I would say the enemies look like really early 3D, the kind of thing you'd see in like a pre-rendered cutscene on like the best MS-DOS game ever of its time. You know what I mean? So that's pretty cool. There's also this bit like where there are cutscenes where you're seeing like the old MS-DOS console, and it's like there's chatting going on involved. It's very strange. I feel like all of that could have been thrown in the garbage, and we didn't need any of that. But yeah, I'm a couple hours in, and I've been enjoying it. So Super Hot is a good game, and that's had my attention when it comes to gaming. Let's see, what else have I been playing? I took a night off from gaming last night, though. Rather than hanging out in Panzer Studios and playing Steam games, I was watching this show, The Good Place, with my wife, which is pretty funny, pretty good show. I mean, I don't go too much into depth about TV shows and whatnot here on the air, but that was fun. Watched a bunch last night. We watched probably like 5 episodes back to back to back. It's like my normal evening game time on a really good night, but I just spent it all watching TV, which I hadn't done in a long time. I was a big fan of Cheers, years ago. I remember watching that with my parents when I was really little, back like in the early 90s, in the end of like the normal Cheers run on TV. Like we had the final episode of Cheers on VHS that we taped off of TV. And we had that for ages. I think that might even still be at my parents' house. So it's nice to see a show with Ted Danson in it where, that's actually really good. So that was cool. That was my evening last night, watching some TV with my wife and just hanging out, having a good time. Let's see, what else we got going on here? So last week, I binged so hard on Unreal Tournament. I feel like I got my decent fill of classic FPS games. That's a go-to game type for me that I never quite get enough of. So I know I'll be revisiting it soon. But for now and for the upcoming weekend, I got my eyes on other things. And again, whenever I talk about what I want to play on the first day of the work week, what I actually end up playing is usually a million miles away from it. But in this case, I've been thinking about playing one of the Elder Scrolls games again. I revisit the Elder Scrolls series every couple of years. I've had a lot of fun with it in the past. You guys remember the Monday Night Morrowind series that used to be I used to do on YouTube that kind of brought my YouTube channel to its knees. A lot of people unsubscribed during that time. But I like the Elder Scrolls games. And I haven't quite picked out how I want to do it, but I do know that I want to do it pretty heavy. Either I'm going to go with the vanilla Skyrim experience, because I only ever got like a few hours into vanilla Skyrim, or I'm also thinking about like a heavily modified Oblivion experience, because Oblivion has a ton of, well, I guess all of those games have a ton of mods. At least Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim all do. I don't really see any mods for Daggerfall apart from Daggerfall Unity, and I don't see any mods for the side games either. Like Redguard doesn't have any mods. What's the other side game apart from Redguard? Sky something. I don't know. So yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking about right now. I took a look into GOG 2.0. I wanted to get more information on that over the last couple days. because that was something when they announced GOG 2.0, I was really excited. This is something they announced back in late June, early July. Hey, GOG is going to release a new version of its client. It's a completely optional client. And its focus is going to be bringing all the other storefronts together. And it entered closed beta. And I signed up for the closed beta, and I unfortunately wasn't chosen. Which, it happens. I signed up for the closed beta, wasn't chosen. Hang on a second. Instead, so that's fine. So I was like, all right. So let's see when the release is. Eventually, they're going to release this thing to everybody. Started looking around at articles. Very little information on when the release of GOG 2.0 is. This is something that I'm kind of expecting to breathe new life into my GOG account. An account that has quite a few games in it, I must add. And there's no tentative release date or even a time frame, except the statement that they plan to keep it in beta for a long time. So, how long is a long time? Who knows? I don't know. But it was very disappointing to hear. Because that means that it's something I'm not going to be, providing updates on and looking out for every, couple of days or whatever. Because up to this point, I would launch my GOG client just to see if I got lucky and it was getting updated. I wanted that GOG Galaxy 2, man. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Till then, I'm sticking with my Steam games and adding ridiculous non-Steam games to my Steam collection. Hang on a second. Yeah, so I guess that's about it for this episode of the Vancast. I'm going to shoot you guys back to the studio. That'd be pretty cool to be back in the studio right now. But I'm going to go do my Tuesday at work, returning to work after a long weekend. Always a difficult thing. But it's a difficult thing, but it's one of those things where it's like, all right, I'm expected to suck it up. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'll see you guys back there. Back again in the studio. Man, yeah, so that evening, we went to the hospital. And that's when it all started changing, which is pretty great. So what are we now? We're 18 minutes in. Let's take a second. We're gonna thank the sponsors, because these people, first of all, as I say every week, and I say this every week, but I don't want to fall into complacency, because they give of their resources, the meager dollary dues that these people have. They share a little bit with me every month. So I want to send a special thanks to these guys for letting me take a week off. And to them, I offer early access to the show. They're going to get it tonight, Saturday night. And I read their names off in a hall of distinguished gentlemen. So they are Hemrock, James, Sendu, Tecmo Balls, Darabka, and Konstantin Kelman. Thank you guys very much for your support. I hope you guys are enjoying the show. Let's party. Okay, I think rather than play another track, we're going to go back to the van, because I have a ton of comments to read, and I've got 3 more Vancasts to go over. Wowie zowie. And the next one is the first one back from the hospital. The one we just heard was recorded on the 3rd. This was recorded on the 11th. This is like the first day driving back to work after coming home with the baby. So let's go there now. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Good morning, everybody. I don't know what day of the week this is. It's September 11th. 6:20 in the morning, 66 degrees outside. It feels good, man. A little damp. Not too bad. A little damp, a little foggy. Actually, there's a lot of fog. Getting ready to head out and do my day at the office. What a time it's been. I don't know when I'm going to record at home to stitch all this together, so I'm just going to give you the story here in the Vancast. We have a new baby in my house. It's pretty amazing. My wife went into labor on the 3rd in the evening time, and we went to the hospital, and the baby was born, which was great. We had to stay in the hospital several extra days, so I was in the hospital from the 3rd. I can't remember what day of the week that was, to be honest. But all the way until like Sunday night. So there was no way for me to get a TCR out. I had been emailing back and forth with Hemrock during that time, and Hemrock sent in a huge email, and my plan was just no effects, no window dressing, no intro music, no tracks, none of that stuff. Just sitting down with this email and reading it off and responding to it, and it was nice and long, so that would have been enough for like a skim TCR. But by the time I got home, there was no time. It was already Sunday night, and that's Sunday night with a new baby in the house. So I couldn't get away and make it happen. So my apologies for missing TCR last week. It's because of the new baby. We got a new baby boy, and he's doing great, which is pretty awesome. So that's it. So new baby boy, and also I haven't had the chance to play a video game in over a week, so we'll see how this goes. I did notice one thing I was able to do was like sitting with my son. I've been able to just like flip around on Reddit and Twitter, and that's about it. Couldn't get away to play a video game, but I did have my ear to the ground with Reddit and Twitter. And apparently there was a big convention in California, and another one at the same time in New York. Electronicon and Electronicon 2, which both, I guess Electronicon 2 happens on the 19th, but they're both very close together. Big Vaporwave convention, which looks like it was more popular than they were anticipating. If you're into Vaporwave, or Future Funk, or City Pop, or any of that stuff, this was like a big milestone event for these people, because you're talking about music that was existed primarily on the internet, right? You've got internet music created by people who know how to use trackers and sequencers. These people know how to use DJ equipment, and that's pretty much what? DJ equipment. Yeah. But these, you're talking about music that's not really designed for use in a live set. And yet they have a huge convention, multiple conventions, which looks like it did pretty well. I mean, you got a DJ, of course. DJs are equipped for live sets for sure, but there were people on the billing list that were like, "This is my first live set ever." I know Frank Javc was at one of these things. And I know Cat System Corp was at one. Pat Chennington, and a couple other names that I recognize. But that's pretty cool. It's cool to see Vaporwave kind of have this big gathering. It seemed like the whole movement kind of escalated in a single weekend. So it was pretty cool to sit in my rocking chair with my son in my lap, sound asleep, flipping through Twitter, looking at people's Electronicon photos and little cell phone clips and stuff. I had a lot of fun doing that. So that was kind of cool. In terms of video games, Fanatical, I think it's either Fanatical or Indie Gala. Actually, it might be Indie Gala. There's a bundle, like a retro game bundle. I was like, all right. $1.99 for a bunch of games you would consider like no-name games that like you probably wouldn't pay attention to otherwise. There's a lot of these like garbage tier bundles, and at first glance that's what it looked like, until I noticed it had Nightshade in it. Nightshade, the NES game, right? On Steam, legit in this bundle. I'm like, wait a second, wait. How can that be? So, I can't remember the name of the company because, of course, this is the Vancast. I'm doing this on the fly. I don't have any notes in front of me or anything like that. But, Nightshade was brought to Steam at some point with several other old computer games from the time. And that's $1.99. So I kind of want to get that, to be honest. There was another game for the NES called Rescue the Embassy Mission that I liked very much as a kid. We had that on the NES, and I played through it many, many, many times. Oh my goodness, over and over again. Seared into my subconscious. This game is, for sure. So that's one that I've had on Steam for quite a while. I can't remember the name of the Steam version. It's slightly different. It's like Hostage or something like that. So I know that some of these age-old, like 1980s PC games have made it to Steam in some cases. But yeah, it looks like there's a few more than I thought, which is pretty cool, man. It's pretty rad. All right, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about MagFest. MagFest tickets go on sale. They went on sale yesterday, so they're up now. They're expensive though. They're $85 or $95. $95, I think. Jeez Louise. MagFest is getting more expensive every year, which is pretty rough. And not only is it getting more expensive every year, they did away entirely with the whole early bird cheap pricing thing. You used to be able to get the tickets at a pretty big discount if you got them early, which is the reason why, like, the first... Hold on a second, I gotta sneeze. Excuse me. Which is the reason why, like, the first MagFest I went to, it cost me $40. And that's because I got the tickets in the summertime. And you could get them at a big discount at that point. And then last year or a couple of years ago, that early bird discount... Hang on a second, one more. That early bird discount was like at a limited quantity, so it ran out in like 5 minutes or something like that. So they just cut it entirely, which is really tough. Because it makes the cost of the event go way, way, way up for me. But on the flip side of that, last year was the first year I really started going to the chip space, and it was a pretty pivotal moment. Seeing Glomag do his live set and a few others, it was great. I want to do that again. So yeah, I think the prices only went up like $10 since last year, so it's only $10 more. But the problem is I go every year, so the price goes up every year, you know. So I'll definitely get a ticket for me and a ticket for my son, and we'll go down there. And I believe I'm in talks with Hemrock to see what he's up to. Last year he came to town, and we were able to share a room, me, him, and Engie. So this year, I don't know what we're doing, but it's looking good, and I'm getting excited, especially since it's September now. So MagFest is only like a few months away, right? October, November, December. So 3 months. They're about 3.5 months, I guess. Yeah, wow. And then it'll be 2020, right? Flying cars, future cops, laser, death rays, all that stuff. We've only got 3 months for you guys to get, you scientists guys, to get all that together. I want my flying cars, I want my future cops, I want my death rays, all that stuff. Make it happen. I feel like there were some big time releases in the music scene that I'm forgetting about. I know there was a big one over at Gulf Audio Company. Twin Pines Mall had an album. I can't remember the name of it. It's been out for a long time, but not on Gulf Audio Company, and they released it on vinyl, which was so sweet. Twin Pines Mall's got some good tunes. So that was a record I was really interested in getting, but ultimately I let it go in favor of saving up money for my Euro rack equipment, which is, is what it is. But yeah, it's nice to see awesome releases, awesome albums get physical releases, because whenever these vaporwave guys, they get physical releases, it's always super limited release. That's the only way they can do it financially, is like, we're just going to get it together and we're going to make 100 of these records and that's it. And when they sell out, we'll have to move on to something else because they can't deal with having stock lying around, right? So yeah, something like this happens, you got to jump on it. What else we got here? It's September, all the kids are back in school, and we are 1 month away from the next Steam summer sale, or excuse me, not summer sale, the next Steam, major sale season. We go over this every year. October, there's a big sale for Halloween, then there's another one for Thanksgiving, then there's another one for Christmas. Back to back to back big time Steam summer sales. Now, I haven't been big into buying video games lately. Again, I'm building a Eurorack synthesizer. It's extremely expensive. And I have to do it the same way I did it with my computer, poor man style. $10 at a time. Get a little of this here, a little of that there. And do what I can to stay within the realm of what's feasible. But I always take a little bit of time aside to see what games go on sale for cheap. People complain every year about the sales. It's usually the same thing. This is the worst sale ever. People say it every year. Part of that, I think, is because the longer you use Steam, the more Steam games you acquire, the less, is, worth getting to you. First couple of years, I saw these sales. I didn't have all the classics. Doom, Quake, Heretic, Hexen, Unreal Tournament, the original Unreal, all those games. I didn't have all that. So all of that stuff would all go on sale at the same time. So regardless of how good or bad the Steam sales were, the first couple Steam sales for me, big time events, man, huge. Now I have all those games, got them all. So I usually zero in on like a big ticket game if I can for the flagship sale events. And right now I don't have one picked out. I feel like I did in the past, but I don't at the moment. The summer sale, I got the beat 'em up bundle. I think was the star of the show for me. I even got the Street Fighter collection, and I didn't end up playing that nearly as much as the beat 'em up bundle. So yeah, that was good times. I had a good time with the summer sale. So we'll see. We'll follow up with that. I'll take a look at my wish list and see if there's anything worth chipping in for the winter sales as they come and go. So with that, let's see, where are we at right now? That's a good reason for you, if you're a Steam user, to manage a wish list. Manage a wish list that's nice and big, so that you don't have to crawl through pages and pages and pages of storefront. Anything that even looks slightly remotely interesting to you, throw it on the wish list, so that when the sales happen, you can just scrape through your wish list in 2 minutes, and then you'll know if there's anything you want or not. That's the way to go, my man. That's the reason why I have 200 games on my wish list. It's not because I feel like I need 200 games. It's because I want to be able to do this sort of research really, really, really quickly. Alright. I think games I actually want to play in this moment, considering how busy I've been with my new son. Not just my new son, but my son and daughter, the older two, they need attention. So whenever I manage to get free, I try and hang out with them as much as possible. So let's say I was sitting down with a game right now. I'd probably want to play something that would be really chilled out. This would be a good time to play some Euro Truck Simulator 2 and just cruise around a little bit. Build a little bit with Minecraft. I got a Minecraft world started in the weeks leading up to the birth, which was pretty cool. So that's been fun again. What are some other good chill out games? I talked about this in weeks past, but wanting to reinstall Oblivion, or Morrowind, or one of those Elder Scrolls games, and just play it heavily modded. I think the time has come where I can do that. I've owned all of those games for so many years at this point that whether I've beaten them or not, however much or little I've played, I think it's safe to say I can install some mods now without worry. The whole point of mods, right? If you get a game where you can download mods, their primary function, or at least their greatest strength, is the ability to extend the replayability of a game, right? Think about Doom 2. If you actually just played the vanilla version of Doom 2, I don't think it would have lasted throughout the years the same way it has. Doom 2 is still worth playing today because of all the crazy mods that keep coming and never stop. Like, oh my gosh. So, let's apply some of that magic to the Elder Scrolls series and go back and see what's there. I'm kind of inclined to pick Oblivion because Skyrim's like pay mod scene turns me off to it, like in a big way. I know there's a lot of free stuff. There's even a mod that like turns off the option to go into like the pay mod store, which is really funny. But yeah, so Oblivion being a little bit older, I think appeals to me for that reason. I also didn't play Oblivion much. I had a save guy for a little while, but I don't remember getting far in Oblivion. I remember doing like the first major dungeon, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, that would be fun to play again. I even have, at some point, I came across the strategy guide for Oblivion at one of the used bookstores, and it's been sitting on my shelf forever. Good old paper strategy guides. I still love them, you know? Good stuff. Relics of an era gone past. The old paper strategy guide. I never did get the Skyrim paper strategy guide, though. I wanted it really badly because it was like a phone book. A phone book. This thing was absolutely enormous. It's the biggest strategy guide I've ever seen was the original Skyrim strategy guide. It's like the last great paper strategy guide. I know they made them after that, but not like this. This thing's a titan. Woo! Alright, where are we at now? Alright, I think we're nearing the end of this Vancast. I think this weekend I'm looking forward to the most to just office time. Sitting in my office, surrounded by my things, where all my video games are. Now, what would I actually play? I personally probably wouldn't play anything. This is what I would do. I would turn on my Wii for my son so he could play New Super Mario Bros. Wii. It's what he's been playing lately. Which, by the way, I think we can all agree what a mistake it was to call it New Super Mario Bros. Wii, because now that is an old Mario Brothers game, and it still has the word new in the title. This is Mario games were already decades and decades old at this point and still thriving and making money on virtual markets. Don't know how they managed to screw that up, but still an awesome game. So he plays New Super Mario Bros. Wii, and then my daughter likes to play Terraria. She bounces back and forth. Sometimes she plays Terraria, sometimes she plays a game called Chains, which is a little puzzle game from a guy who calls himself 2D Engine on Steam. Good game. Very, very charming. Very simple to play. Perfect for somebody her age. So I would turn on the Wii for my boy, turn on the PC for my daughter, and then I would stretch out on the carpet right on the floor of my office and just drift off to sleep listening to my children talk about how much fun they're having playing video games. And that sounds like the perfect weekend. So that's what I'm looking forward to, very much so, this coming Saturday. With that, I'm going to go knock my day out at work, for which I'm so thankful that I have a day of work to go to. And I'm going to send you guys back to the studio. I'll see you there. As soon as I can get into the off button. Here's one for you. This is VHS Glitch with the track Iron Pumper on Tiger Claw Radio. Morning, everybody. What day is this? Thursday. It is Thursday morning. 6:21 in the morning. I don't know what the temperature is. It's nice outside, though. It feels brisk and chill. Not cold. Just nice and chilled out, which is pretty awesome. I am headed off to work with a sliver of gas remaining, so I'm going to have to swing by the gas station. But it's been a pretty good morning. I woke up at 5, changed the new baby, and then my older son, who's 9, came and sat with me in my office. So it's just me and him chilling out in the office. I had a bunch of administrative work to do, so we were able to I put on a Let's Play of, oh dear, hey dear. I put on a Let's Play of Mario Maker 2. And we were able to just chill out at 5 in the morning. He was able to watch some Mario Maker 2, and I was able to get my administrative work done. I had to respond to some emails. I bought my MagFest tickets, which was a big deal for me. And that was my morning. It's pretty sweet. Just kind of hanging out with my son. It was a good time. MagFest is coming. I did buy my tickets this morning. One for me, one for the boy, which is pretty awesome. Oh golly, excuse me. Excuse me. They don't have any information up in terms of who the guests are yet. I'm anxious to see who's going to be attending the Chip Space. That was a star of the show for me last year. The only thing was last year it was almost nobody I recognized. I knew who Glomag was from back in the 8BC days, but a lot of the younger people, I had no idea. So we'll see. I have a feeling, it'll probably be like that again, but I don't know. All right, how are we doing now? It's Thursday, though. The weekend's getting closer. I've got today and tomorrow in the office, and then it'll be weekend time. Time to hang out with my family and play some games with my kids. I've been doing this thing since we got back from the hospital where in the evening my wife and I will hang out and we'll put on an old-time radio show. This is something that I used to be really, really into, was old-time radio. Back in 2008, 2009, the first days of TCR, I would listen to Martin and Lewis every night. Old episodes of Martin and Lewis and Abbott and Costello and stuff like that. Alright, give me a second. It's hard to get some gas. Alright, I got the gas. I think I'm ready to do this now. Oh wait, what do we got? Yeah, alright. I think we're good. It's time to go to work. Bear with me one second. I need to pull out of the gas station without running anybody over. Oh my gosh, guys. The weekend's close. What am I going to play this weekend? Anything good? Sendu hit me up on the oh, that's right. I got to reply to him. He hit me up on the Emerald Rangers forums, the Juice Bar. You can head over to TigerClawTV.com and hit the forums button on top. And he asked about Doom Night. He's like, "Hey man, we ever gonna get this going? Doom Night, that'd be fun." We used to have, 10 years ago, we would have events where we would all get together and play Doom. And it's been a long time since we did something like that. These days, when we say, "Hey, it's Doom Night," it ends up being just me and Sean, if I'm lucky. I do have Doom installed, Sendu. We can throw down anytime you want, man. Doom 2. Go get Zandronum, and that comes prepackaged with Doom Seeker. And then once you got that, you can use Doom Seeker to jump into pretty much any server, and it'll install whatever the mod is that you need. So yeah, it's up and running for me, man. Go grab yourself a copy and we'll jump on Discord and play. There's a guy at work who plays Doom 2 all the time. Plays like a whodunit mode. I used to play a lot of Trouble in Terrorist Town, so I found that intriguing, but it's like Trouble in Terrorist Town, but with no voice chat. Very strange. All built in Doom 2. Yeah, I would enjoy that. I even have my Steam icon rigged up. So, excuse me. When you launch Doom 2 from Steam, it launches Doomseeker. So we can play multiplayer on, in Doomseeker, and it will log my time on Steam. Yeah, pretty silly, but I have it rigged up to do that. There was a time when I would launch Doom from Steam, and then I would just minimize it, and then leave it open while I played my mods, my Doom mods, and it would log my time that way. This is a little bit more feasible, a little bit less ridiculous in my opinion. But yeah, there's some good stuff. Some good games out there that are still populated. So we could pick a populated server, and then it would be like a full house. You know what I mean? Even though we don't have many people in the group willing to show up to a Doom night anymore. That doesn't mean we can't do one, Alright, where are we at now? We're at 6.5 minutes in. 6.5 minutes in, not a whole lot of video games played between this and the last one, so I think I'm going to call that it. But, yeah, with the weekend coming, a couple things I'm looking forward to playing. I've got an Xbox 360 version of The Sims 3, right? Sims 3. Sims 3 was a game I loved on PC. It's a 100-hour plus game on Steam for me, of which there aren't very many. Had a great time with it, and I came across one of the console versions very cheaply at a thrift store, so I picked it up, brought it home, cleaned it up. I'm gonna take it for a spin, have some fun with it, and then probably let it go on eBay. One of the things about Sims 3 was the big deal for that game was that was the game that opened up the whole neighborhood. Typically in a Sims game, you can only walk around your house. Then if you want to go somewhere else, you got to take a car, which switches instances or something. But in The Sims 3, you could zoom out and there was the whole neighborhood. But consequently, it was really taxing on resources to run. So my computer in the olden days, it didn't look very good. Even today, I can still run it and it looks good, but it takes forever to load. So I'm really curious to see how they optimized it to run on Xbox 360. I think that'd be interesting. So that's something I'm looking forward to playing this weekend, but I think in reality I will bring it home, I'll put it in, and I'll probably play it for 15 minutes, and that'll be that. That's the way it was with Sims 2. I got Sims 2 on the PS2 a year or so ago, and I brought it home and I put it in, and it was about 15 minutes. Now, for that 15 minutes, I was like, yeah, this is really cool. This is a good version of the game. It's different from the PC. You can actually take direct control of the character, which you can't do in PC, as opposed to being a point-and-click interface. I liked it a lot. But after 15 minutes, I was like, yeah, I'm done. Ended up reselling it. So, all done with Sims 2. I think Sims 3 will probably be the same way. But that's cool. And then after that, head back to some old school FPS action. Maybe finally play Rise of the Triad, like I've been talking about for a couple of weeks. And with that, boys and girls, I'm going to send you guys back to the studio. All right, boys and girls, we got one more for the week. This is the Friday morning edition of the Vancast, and then after that, we got the fail bag. Stick with us. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Friday morning, 6:24. 6:24 is a little bit late. I like to get out at 6:20 or earlier if I can. I'm on my way to work. It's time for the Vancast. Not much to go over this morning, but there are a couple of things. My son came in with me in my morning hour again. Today and yesterday. It was really nice. Typically, that's the hour that I like to be alone. I recharge, get ready so that during the daytime, or when I get home, then I'm ready for kid time. But it's different now. Now we got a baby. The baby takes up, more time than I could ever imagine. So that morning when I get up, my son and I still have a little time to hang out, me and him. Which I think is important. Because when you're the older kid, and then a new baby comes, it's easy to feel left out. So giving him this time, helps take care of that. It's been good. So again, we hung out and he watched some Super Mario Maker 2 Let's Plays. And I mostly worked on administrative stuff. Oh, excuse me. I was downloading samples for like a Mallsoft album that I'm working on, like a little side project thing. So that was pretty cool. Good morning. One thing I noticed, and this is ultimately the reason why I did the Bandcast this morning. I wasn't going to do it because I think this week's episode is going to run really long. But I opened up Steam and I was looking at my Steam, what do you call it? Like my profile, right? At the bottom of the profile where it shows like the last several games that you've played. It says I haven't played a Steam game since September 1st. Now what is today? Today's September 13th. It's quite a run. It's been a run. Haven't played Steam games in a while. I'm interested in sitting back down with Final Fantasy VII. That's what I want to do right now. It's a million miles away from what I was talking about at the beginning of the week. But here's the deal. We're halfway through September, right? At the end of October, which is a month and a half away, that's when the big Steam end-of-year sale season starts. We get one for October. We get one for November for Thanksgiving. We get another one for Christmas. Sale, sale, sale. Boom, boom, boom. So, the last sales, I talked about this, I think, in another Vancast this week. Hang on a second. I did the, what do you call it? I picked up a bunch of Final Fantasy games. That was something I'd forgotten about. Which ones escape me now? But it was like 5 and 8. And 3. Yeah, that's right. A few like oddball Final Fantasy games in the middle of the series that were affordable. And I think one of the games that I have my eyes set on in the Steam summer sale would be Final Fantasy IX. Final Fantasy IX was a favorite of mine. Haven't played it in a while. The last time I played Final Fantasy IX, I was studying to do a review for it for RetroWare TV. So it was a video that actually aired on RetroWare TV, and it's been a long time since I've been on that website. So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to the idea of playing Final Fantasy IX again. On the PlayStation version, I made it all the way to the 3rd disc before accidentally deleting my save like a chump. So that would be fun to play again. I don't know how I'm going to make that happen with the baby. Like, it seems like kind of a lofty goal, but yeah, that would be cool. A lot of weirdness surrounding the Final Fantasy VIII remastered version that's come out. Apparently, you can mod the original PC version of Final Fantasy VIII to make it look really, really good. So, making it so that there's not much use for a remastered version. And then there's a lot of people who are really upset about censorship in the new version. But if you actually look at the censorship, it's really weird. Like, they raised the neckline on the shirts of like one of the summon models, like Shiva, the summon model, like a ½ inch, and like a lot of like weird, really small stuff like that. But they didn't disclose it. They just like pass it off as the same version. So it's very strange. On one side, you have people saying this is like nothing. These changes are so small, but then on the other side, it's like, yeah, but you made changes to censor it and you didn't disclose it, so what else has changed? So I don't know, there's a lot of weirdness surrounding the remastered version. Oh my gosh, turn your brights off, dude. I think for me, what it comes down to is I have the original version. You can mod it so that you don't need a remastered version, and that's where I stand. So that's a big passeroonie on me. I don't know. What do you guys think? I've talked to all of you individually before about Final Fantasy VIII. It's a really mixed bag. I know a couple of you really like it, and I know a couple of you don't like Final Fantasy games at all. So yeah, that's kind of where I stand on it. There's other games I would love to get, but I really don't see it happening. Hang on a second. Drive time. I would love to get Resident Evil 2, because I had such a huge Resident Evil kick, several months back. And man, oh man, did I love it. Resident Evil 2, I still don't have. Actually, it's on sale right now. It dropped down to $40. But, again, even on sale at $40, that's a big ticket item, especially for me. So, with the impending sales, I'll probably pick one. I'll probably pick one game that I really want to get that's like a bigger ticket item, and that will be what I get. So we'll see. I don't know. Where are we at now? We're at almost 7 minutes. That's kind of all I got right now. It's Friday, so I'm looking forward to an easier day at work. And then I can go home, see my kids, and hopefully put the podcast together tonight. So with that, I'm going to send you guys... Whoop, is that somebody walking into the street in the middle of the night? I guess it's not the middle of the night anymore. With that, I'm going to send you guys back to the studio. See you there. Wait. Back again in the studio. All right. I got my ticket for MagFest. Looking forward to that. I think I talked about that over the Vancast, so we're not going to go into that, but that's going to be pretty awesome. So now what we got to do, we're going to do the fail bag. I need to look for Hemrock's letter, because Hemrock sent me an awesome letter while I was in the hospital, which, by the way, it was really super cool to read. It kind of made the hospital time a little bit easier. Okay, here we go. This came in 10 days ago, so my apologies to Hemrock. Hey, CF, congratulations on a number of counts. First off, congratulations on the birth of your new son. Yes, thank you very much. That will be a grand new adventure, as you already know from prior experience. Yes, indeedy. Also, congrats on reaching 300 episodes. Yes, thank you very much, man. It's been an amazing 10 years. Man, has it really been that long? And thirdly, a hearty congrats on keeping TCR going on a regular weekly schedule-ish for regular weekly schedule for 2-ish years or so. Yeesh. Yeah, I feel bad over missing last week. Another impressive feat. Keep up the great work. I really look forward to TCR's release. It's like a sweet dark chocolate treat for my ears. It's audio comfort food. Thank you for what you do. Man, such nice words. Such nice words, Hemrock. Thanks so much. I'm glad you listen, and I feel really blessed that you guys stick around. We've got Desm checking in. We've got Mecha Menace, Alex Swingle. Even though he's a little sarcastic, and we kind of jab each other a little bit. It's all in good fun, and it's awesome that you guys still check in. That you're still listening, even in this episode. It's an hour in, and the fact that you're still letting it run is really cool. I appreciate that. So let's get back to the email. All right, enough with the sentimental mumbo jumbo. I just listened to Anime-Gucci's new song. It's entitled Arctic Anthem, and it's sort of a tease. It's like one long build-up without an apex. Hey, Anime-Gucci, if you're listening, go back and take a look to the Helix Nebula track. Do something like that again. In any case, I hope they stay true to their poppy guitar-laced chiptunes in the past. Speaking of chiptunes, I did pick up Battle of the Bits Winter Chip 14. All right, awesome. I have a folder right next to my Winter Chip 13 collection. I hate to be negative, but the latest Winter Chip has quite a few stinkers. Where's Laguna Seca? Seriously, Laguna Seca had the quality to make this collection. With that said, there's a few of my favorites from the recent Battle of the Bits release. Mighty to Decoder by John Caruso. That's track number 11. Track 49. Super Ski 99. KGB 525, which I think you played on TCR. Yeah, KGB 525 is awesome. His tracks are awesome. And number 41, Separated by Cleater. You know what? I think there might have been some better compilations in the past. I would agree with you. There are a couple of skips. But there are also some awesome songs. So, I take it in stride. You know what I mean? They do 4 of these a year. So it's what, 50, how many tracks was it? 50 plus? Yeah, there are a couple of skips, but that's okay. It's okay. It's a folder filled with MP3s. You can always just highlight the ones you don't like and delete them. Sorry to the artists. I'd never call out an artist on the air. But hey, it happens. We're not going to like every song, and that's okay. That's, All right, let's get back to the email. A couple episodes ago, you mentioned the Minecraft beta and alpha and whether or not dogs were available. I can say with confidence they were not in the alpha, and I don't think they were in the beta either. At the very most, there were dogs in the beta, but you couldn't make them your pet. Anyways, I'd throw my 2 cents in on the subject since I never really got back into Minecraft when the final product was actually released. So 90% of my playtime was in the alpha beta versions. Well, I hope you raise your youngest son to better appreciate Super Mario Bros. 3. How dare your eldest offspring spit on the pinnacle of NES platforming? But in all seriousness, what was the last week? Was last week the first time your oldest son played SMB3? If he's stuck on graphics, did you show him the All-Stars version? That is a good point. That is a very good point. No, I've not showed him the All-Stars version. He might get down with it. And I'll tell you why. Because he got into Super Mario World. We were actually playing that a little bit tonight. We found out that he's been... we found out that he's been sneaking into my office at night and playing some Wii games when he's supposed to be in bed. Which is... I can't get too mad because I did the same thing when I was little. But yeah, so that's cool. He dug Super Mario World. Yeah, he probably dig All-Stars. Let's get back to the comment. On your last TCR, you spoke about recording tapes from the radio. Yeah, I totally did that as a kid too. And that was the last time in my life when I listened to the so-called Today's Greatest Hits radio with any regularity. It reminds me of the song eloquently titled Nothing Good on the Radio, performed by Down by Law. That is awesome that you know that song, dude. That is awesome because I love Down by Law. Yeah, that song was on like the Go-Kart Records sampler, I think, that I got when I was a teenager. That's an awesome song, dude. Yeah, Down by Law does some catchy songs. They're really good. Criminally underrated. All right, let's scroll down a little bit. I think I mentioned Digital Decay in my last email. And lately I've been doing a little bit of what I call digital archiving. For instance, there are 2 main sites that have Civilization 2 scenarios, civfanatics.com and Scenario League. And my goal is to create a backup of all the scenarios on both websites. I've already run into the dreaded dead link issue where files cannot be found. Surprisingly, I was able to use archive.org's Wayback Machine and check the old links with downloadable files still intact. All right, I'm going to stop you right here. There's more to read here, but I just want to weigh in when I can. Civ Fanatics is a forum, and like a lot of forums, the files aren't hosted there. So you got to be real careful about their longevity. I mean, it's exactly what you're talking about. They host on places like RapidShare and Mega Upload, and then those sites die, and then the links die with them. So you're doing the right thing. As a matter of fact, I've got a guide up for Civilization 3 on how to do the zombie mod. And I have to keep going back to check it every couple of years to make sure that link is still there, because it's a forum link, and the file is hosted goodness knows where, and that could go down at any time. So yeah, you're doing a good thing, especially if that's a game that you treasure. Then get out, a CDR and make yourself a CDR of the unofficial expansion pack, the Hemrock's unofficial ultimate expansion pack for Civilization 2. Make like a little fake cover for it and everything. That sounds pretty awesome, actually. All right, let's get back to this comment because I cut him off mid-paragraph. Apparently, when they archive old websites, if the files are small enough, they will also archive the downloadable files. I was able to get an old scenario that way. Another surprise is I was able to track down the author of a Civ 2 scenario and found an email for him online. So despite the odds of hearing back, I dropped him a message asking if he still had the files to the scenario. Unbelievably, he replied back and sent me the scenario. How crazy is that? Very crazy. Speaking of Civilization 2, I've actually been designing a scenario myself. I'm wondering if you or any of your listeners would be interested in testing it out. Yes, I would. It will require a copy of Civ 2 Gold Edition to play. I'm probably a month or two away from a playable version. It's a pretty tough development cycle. I'm hitting snags here and there where the game will completely crash. I'm literally editing text files, and as you know, if one character is incorrect, in the code, the entire thing may go bonkers. On 2 different occasions, I crashed the game because I forgot to capitalize a single letter. Thankfully, I've been diligently saving copies of the game every so often, so if the game crashes, I haven't lost all my progress. Quick break from here. If I could offer just a little bit of advice, my man, when you save, don't save over your previous version, okay? So what you want to do is create a huge folder, and in that folder have subdirectories to previous versions, because something happens. You're talking about crashing the game. Maybe you won't crash the game. Maybe you'll make some change, and it'll be difficult to track where things went wrong. Be able to roll back several versions if you have to. It's just modding general tips from the programming world. I'm sure it sounds like you're doing that already, but that's something that comes to mind reading your comment. Let's get back to it. At the moment, I have units of the vast majority of the tech tree complete. Both tasks took longer than anticipated. Thankfully, I used LibreOffice to map out my tech tree. Otherwise, I might have quit the project already. The LibreOffice document saved me on many occasions, as creating the tech tree by editing a notepad file is tough enough without good visual representation. Did you ever get into playing scenarios for Civ 2? I know there are some decent scenarios included in the Gold Edition CD. You know, what stopped me from doing that was the pathfinding. The pathfinding to me was absolutely crippling for a Civilization 2. And it sucks because I like how much Civilization 2 feels more like a Windows application. It has the generic Windows maximize, minimize in the upper right hand corner. It has the generic Windows drop downs that any given Windows desktop app would have in those days. I like the way it's laid out, but we would have to find some sort of mod to fix the pathfinding, because I have difficulty with that. Did some scenarios in Civ 3, but not Civ 2. Not a whole lot. It was cool to hear Death Adder on the show. I think he really spices TCR up a bit. One of the things I miss about the old TCR is the frequency of guest appearances. Maybe you could do a recording with someone and stretch it over 2 or 3 episodes. You could do it like a Vancast. I'd love to hear some Jerry Terrifying, Systems Overload, or even get real crazy and bring on Bithead 1000. I wonder if Bithead has ever been on a podcast before. You know what? First of all, Bithead doesn't know who I am, and since he got a big shout out, he wouldn't have time for me. I think if I reached out to old Jesse, I doubt I would get a serious reply. It would be fun though. I gotta be honest, I've watched so much Bithead 1000, I'd probably be nervous talking to him, because there's the thing about like never meet your heroes, because you'll be disappointed. And that's something, without dropping any names, that's happened to me in the past, where I've had the chance to talk to people on Skype who are like, I was like massive fans of, and then kind of left with a sour taste in my mouth without calling anybody out. But so yeah, I would ask him. It'd be great to talk to him, man. I'm sure he knows what a podcast is. Come on now. I don't know if he's ever been on one though. I don't know if it's quite his cup of tea. We'll see. He strikes me as the kind of guy where it's like you would probably find him a very different character if he got on like a podcast where he wasn't alone. I don't know. Let me not do his talking for him. I'll just shoot him a message and we'll see what he says. I bought his t-shirt. I can say that. All right, let's get back to the email. So there's been a ton of gaming news recently. The Sega Genesis Mini will be coming out later this month. I may have asked you before, but is there any chance of you purchasing it? We also have the TurboGrafx Mini on the horizon, set to be released on March 2020. Any desire to pick this one up? If you had to choose one, which would you go with? I think I would choose the TurboGrafx. Yeah, me too. I may even pre-order it. I believe it's an Amazon exclusive. However, I think I'll wait on the Sega Genesis Mini and see what people say on the YouTube and after it's been released a while. I'm interested in playing Mega Man: The Wily Wars. And to answer your question, I'm interested in the TurboGrafx Mini. I'm right there with you in terms of the Sega Genesis Mini. We'll wait till it gets released and see what people say. Number 2, the latest Nintendo Direct just dropped. It looks like Terry from Fatal Fury will be added to Smash Brothers. There are also releasing Divinity Original Sin on the Switch. What's interesting is that game will feature the ability to share cloud saves between Switch and Steam versions. Wow, that is neat. Doom 64 is also coming to the Switch, because why not? Another announcement I think most everyone knew was coming is that SNES games will now be available for Netflix. Yeah, I'm still a hard pass on the Nintendo Switch online service. Me too, brother. I'm also like burned out on Smash Brothers announcements. I hear the Michelin Man is coming to Smash Brothers. Torchlight 2 is coming to Switch. I believe that was announced before the Nintendo Direct. Yeah, we got to get back and play Torchlight 2 again, man. Those were some fun nights. Number 4, perhaps the largest video game heist recorded in human history occurred last month in Missouri. Reportedly close to $100,000 worth of video games were stolen. A collection of over 100 complete and box versions of rare games was taken from a locally owned video game store. I won't recount the whole story, but you can read it here. It sounds like a well-coordinated theft, which I can only assume he had help from a current or former employee. What are your thoughts? The words weaponized autism comes to mind. God bless the store owner. It sounds like he took a hard loss, and I hope the thieves are brought to justice. Number 5. Wow, I was writing this email. As I was writing this email, I just discovered Mega Man Wily Wars will have an official re-release for the Sega Genesis. See here and here. Get out of town. Let me reopen these. 2 decades after its release in Japan and Europe. Sure enough. Sure enough. I get sour about these re-releases because this game's going to come out and it's going to be like $50. Look at this Metal Storm. Metal Storm in a clear blue case. It's going to be super expensive. But that's cool, man. Legit way to get Wily Wars. We never got it in the States. A few questions before I go. Did you ever play more of Lord of the Rings Third Age for the PS2? No, I have not. Super sorry. How often have you experienced gamer fatigue? Gamer fatigue? I guess you'd have to define that one for me, but it sounds like being tired of video games. Steam users, I think, feel that a lot because we tend to... Alright, so here's the thing, and I've told this, I think, on the air many times, but this is something that I think applies to gamers quite a lot. With a small child, like a toddler, if you give a toddler one toy, she'll love it, and she'll play with it, and she'll have a great time. If you give that same toddler a box of toys and spread out on the carpet and say, here, pick the one you like the most, she won't know what to do. That's the way children are. I think adults with our Steam collections are very much the same way. I mean, we have adult brains that are developed so we can mitigate the situation by compartmentalizing. But it's harder to find something to play when you have a lot of games. I just think that's the way it is. So yes, I experience that all the time. Especially when I have to work really hard at work and I come home and I spend my remaining energy just being with my family, so I'm wiped out by the time I get up and it's time for video games. So yeah, if I think I understand what you mean by gamer fatigue, yeah, I get it every once in a while. But I don't have enough time to play video games, so probably not as much as your average person. I know you're returning to the email. I know you're selling or have recently sold some of your collection. Has it ever crossed your mind to completely get rid of it or sell off most of it? Yes, it has. But I'm not going to do that because my son loves video games just as much as me, and I want to bequeath my collection to him when he is a man, if he's still interested in it. You know what I mean? The thing is, I've made this decision long ago, when my kids were little, that I didn't want to be one of these guys who owns a game room and the kids know not to go in the game room. That is a waste. It is a spectacular waste. It's all this entertainment hardware, and it's like, no, you can't play with the toys. Only I can play with the toys. No. I share my games with my children because they're toys. And who loves toys more than children? Really. That, and it's such an easy thing to bond over. You know, it's such a waste to not let the children play with the games. So, since the children are growing up with games, when my kids are older, they'll probably want to keep them. So I'm not going to sell them all off. I have thought about paring down significantly. I have thought about selling off chunks. At one point, I was considering letting my entire Nintendo 64 go, top to bottom, all the games, controllers, everything. I can't remember who it was who pointed this out, but they were like, "Yeah, you're gonna regret that if you do that." I've had to sell off bits of my collection in the past for reasons, and I regretted doing it later. So I think that's right. I think right now I'm only selling games that I'm not interested in at all. If I'm not interested in it at all, then it gets sold. I've got The Sims 3 for the Xbox 360. That's gonna go. Some games get inducted into the collection and they stay. Some games can go, and that's okay too. If you had to sell one console and all its games, what would it be? Probably the Nintendo 64, because I can't share it with anyone. No one I know, like my children aren't interested in the Nintendo 64 in the least. With the exception of Pokemon Puzzle League, they love that game. And Mario 64 they like as well, but I have that on the Wii. My son tried it. He thought it looked cool, but he was very bad at it, so he didn't stick with it. Yeah, I've thought about letting the 64 go. I don't have any rare or awesome games for it. I've got some cool games. Perfect Dark is pretty cool. I got Forsaken 64. That was the last Nintendo 64 game I bought. I thought that was pretty cool. Despite being really weird, I liked it. But I've got a really small collection for the 64. Not much. And I don't have the RAM expansion. So, I don't know. I couldn't see myself getting on a Nintendo 64 kick. You know what I mean? That would probably be the one I would let go. If you could only keep one console and all its games, excluding PC, what would it be? Probably the PS2. No, that's not true. It would be the NES, because my NES collection spans over the most years. I have a few of my NES games from when I was a kid. Not much. But the first video game I ever owned was River City Ransom for the NES, and I still have it. So that will be with me forever until there's a house fire and I lose everything, or my kids get older and steal it. Oh, hang on, phone's ringing. Let me make sure that everything's okay with the baby. Let's see. Can you give the baby a bottle? Yeah. All right. That's all the questions. Well, I really need to get to bed. Congrats again on the kiddo, and keep rolling retro. P.S. When life gets you down, never forget the Kool-Aid Man. Oh, yeah! We got through it. Hemrock, my man, thanks for the email. All right, we're going to take a quick recording break while I go help the family out, and then we'll read the rest of the comments on YouTube. All right. We running again? I usually like to put like a song or something to kind of break it up, but yeah, it's not happening. It's like an hour and a half later. I'm headed over to YouTube to read the comments. I got some hot water on for some tea. We'll make that in a second. So last week was 2 weeks ago was episode 300, making this episode 301. All right. So we got a good bit of comments actually. Desm101 writes, "Congrats on hitting 300. Thanks, man. So nice." Swingle wrote something I'm not going to read on the air, but it involves buckets. This is the funny thing about Swingle. He wrote, so last week we had Death Adder on. Now, Swingle, I know, enjoys Death Adder's work. So, commonly, sometimes he will leave a bunch of comments as he listens, right? He started leaving comments first 86 minutes in, and then he doubled back to listen to the beginning. So he started with this Swingle's interview and then doubled back, which I thought was funny. Oh, someone's knocking. All right, how are we doing now? I think we're back on the air. So let's read Swingle's comments. 86 minutes in, he writes, "It makes me sad to see, not to see Ghostface Killah when people talk about Ghostface being in Dead Before Daylight." Hang on a second. I gotta sneeze. What are you going to do? So when you say Ghostface Killah, are you referring to the rapper? Or are you referring to the bad guy from Ninja Checkmate or The Mystery of Chess Boxing? Or are you referring to the actual Ghostface Killer from the Scream movies? The guy you're talking about, I played against once, and I hated it because when he would get you with the knife, it was an auto fall. You typically, in Dead by Daylight, when you swing your weapon as the killer, you hit the survivor once, then they have a chance to get away, and then you have to hit them a second time before they're down. This guy hits them once and they go down. At least that's how it was for me. So I felt there were some balancing issues, but yeah, you know, what are you going to do? 90 minutes in, he writes, there's no modern games for the PC that I want. I'm stuck in the early 2000s when it comes to giving a crap. It ain't fully true, but practically true. You know what? I'm right there with you, brother. 13 minutes in, you're ungrateful son. This freaking guy. I swear these guys just pretend to hate older games. I don't know. He loves Super Mario World. He just needs a little bit more sprite shading. I don't know. It's weird because we watch Let's Plays of Mario Maker 2, and he'll watch Let's Plays that use the palette set from Super Mario Bros. 3, and he likes those just fine. So I don't know. I think sometimes he just gives me a hard time where it's like, hey, I loved this game as a kid. Let's take a look. Dad, I know you care about it, so I'm going to hate it. Because that's fatherhood. Brisex R6T leaves on the Leisure Suit Larry security questions video. I got this game from a friend when I was 12, and it used to take forever to get in. Apparently, when I was a kid, it didn't help with the USA questions. Well, yeah, the questions on Leisure Suit Larry were an interesting thing, dealing with them getting in. These days, you can hit Control-Alt-X and it will skip them. I don't know if it was like that back in the day. Death Adder writes, to be fair, there was a while when I enjoyed The Walking Dead. It had its moments. I liked that guy Abraham who cosplayed as Duke Nukem, and Maggie was really easy on the eyes. But it needed an end point to wrap it up after a few seasons. When they stayed around in that prison for like 9 years was when the show took a nosedive for me. It was a cool cross-playing podcast with you. It was the equivalent of Dwight and Leatherface sitting down and enjoying a pot of tea together. May the entity forever bind us. Death Adder, my man. First guest on TCR in quite some time. And as Hemrock brought up earlier, yeah, we should do that more. Mix it up a little bit. I enjoyed it. It was a good time. Julia writes, I've been playing Dead by Daylight a lot recently. I'm enjoying it and getting better at it. You probably don't watch American Horror Story, but I found it kind of interesting that the next season is so inspired by 80s slasher films. I think the 80s has been a big trend lately. Maybe the F-13 and Dead by Daylight games have had a part in that. I think it'd be pretty cool to see more horror games inspired by all the unique scary movies of the 80s. They could be a potential source for inspiration that could be taken from many different directions. Well, you know what? That's one of the things I liked about Dead by Daylight was that there's a bunch of different old horror, recognizable horror stuff in there. I don't think either one of these games really had anything to do with the ushering in of the 80s craze, because I think before either one of these games were out, people were already kind of like digging the 80s. But I'll tell you what, Friday the 13th did it for me in a big way. When you're getting ready to start one of the matches and they have that like 80s dance groove going, and they're doing that weird 80s dance on the porch just before that one guy gets a lance right in the face. That, more so than Dead by Daylight, that was an 80s inspired game in a big, big, big way. But cool, you've been into Dead by Daylight. I'm curious what platform you got it on. I'm guessing the Xbox, maybe. I don't know. Well, have fun with it. It's a great game. Thanks for writing in. Mecha Menace. Oh, big one from Mecha Menace, my man. Ushering in the cast with Rush Jet is a nice choice. I love Rush Jet's VRC6 Mega Man 3 soundtrack. You know what? I've seen that around. It's been a while since I don't know if I've ever downloaded that, but I remember sampling that at one point, like downloading it and just listening to a couple tracks and then getting rid of it or something. I don't think that one ever quite made it to the car. That's where these albums really get imprinted into the rock of time, is when they make it into my car and I listen to them in my commute. Let's get back to the comment. He writes, your story of getting stock alerts for the record has me thinking about how often this occurs in consumer culture. Auctions, limited run, special reserve games, IM, 8-bit, etc. It's becoming really taxing that consumers can't rely on producers, even big guys like Nintendo. Nintendo is the worst, acting like they're a small publisher, even though they've been the king of retail since the 80s. They can afford to have a few unsold copies. How is it that sellers aren't making hand over fist that they can't start... Hold on a second, put this down. How is it the sellers aren't making hand over fist that they can't start a pre-order a second run, gauging interest after their initial run? If they have extra stock, why not sell it later on eBay under a different name when they're out of stock? Natsume really did this a few years ago without hiding their identity. They emptied some old stock rooms full of sealed copies of NES, Pocky, and Rocky, and Harvest Moon, amongst others. It might seem like consumer unfriendly move, but people still like Natsume even after doing this. Oh yeah, IRC was the place to be for XDCC. Instead of sitting in silence, ruminating over our failures, record it. Having that free flow of information from brain to mouth that arises out of performing rote actions can only result in statements promoting a response in the comments. So many ideas fled out of my brain because I wasn't recording before I whipped my head to make a left. However, having edited one of those long commute talks, I know how much of a pain it is to dig through the files for gold. It's a lot of work. I tell you, Mecha Menace, my brother, you can't do a weekly show and do heavy editing. It just doesn't work. You can do a monthly show and do heavy editing, or you can do a weekly show and do heavy editing if you don't have a day job. But the only way for me to make it work, at least for me, because what works for one person doesn't always work for another, I have to record the file and know that file can stand on its own. It is the only way that it can work. It's the only way that I am now 1 hour and 31 minutes into the podcast. Probably only spent collectively maybe 30 to 40 minutes working on it in this sitting. You know, if I have to listen to them in real time to edit them, it defeats the purpose of doing pre-recording. But that's just me. I mean, you're right. You can really get some good stuff if you let it flow, for sure. One counter argument would be just to let it flow for a B-reel that would otherwise be a throwaway type of thing. And then if something exemplary came out, I could go back and fish it out and stick it on the podcast. I don't know. I thought about doing that before as well. Yeah. Thanks for the comment, man. Yeah, RushJet's awesome. Stuart Reed left one on the MS-DOS word processors video. He says, there was a game we had back then, 1983 or 4. It was just purely words typed in DOS, and you had to walk around a house or a castle and find stuff. Candlestick or matches. We'd sketch our own maps on paper off to the side. Do you remember the name? It's like the words you came up with for Zork. Adventure? Probably Adventure. So I'm responding in real time. Sounds like Adventure. Hard to say, though. There was a lot of old text adventures. You know? There was a lot of them. What was watch the movie Get Lamp. That's an amazing movie. Any interest in Zork or those kinds of games, those old text adventure games, Get Lamp. They talk about the predecessors to Zork. I think it was called Adventure, where you're exploring a cave, and it was designed by a guy who was actually into caving, and he went caving at some cave and brought along his notebook, and he took notes, detailed notes on the layout of the cave. And being intimately familiar with it, he recreated it in a text adventure, which I think is incredible. So people would make notes just like this guy's talking about. They'd make their maps on paper, and they'd end up with a map of this real cave. Fascinating, fascinating story. Get Lamp is an awesome movie. Finally, we got one from Just Computer Things in the WordStar 4 video. WordStar 4, by the way, my most popular video. WordStar 4, 1987, Retro Computing. Pointing out that, hey, this is what George R.R. Martin wrote the Game of Thrones books on. And he writes, how to convert WordStar file into MS Word file. Don't know, man. I don't know, Just Computer Things. But I will say, best of luck to you, sir. And my goodness, boys and girls, I'm exhausted right now. Ooh, there we go. So whatever it is that's brought you here, 1 hour and 34 minutes into the podcast. Man, 1 hour and 34 minutes. And the last one was 2 hours. Man, they've really been getting bloated. I only played 2 songs, too. A little extra work and we could have hit the 2 hour mark. Whatever's brought you here, thanks for spending some time with us hanging out. I love doing this. It's great, and it feels good to be back home again with the whole family. Just having a good time, talking about some video games. Big sales coming, lots of stuff to look forward to. So whatever it is you're doing this week, I wish you guys the best of luck. Play some video games for me, huh? Let me know how it goes. I'll see you guys next Monday. Have a good one.